are doing Module 14, Lesson 6. The title of the lesson is Add Fractional Parts of 10 and 100. Today you'll be able to rename fractions with denominators of 10 and 100, so both have denominators of 100. So we will be able to add the fractions. So you should be on page 383. Alright, so it says a cook measures the mass of salt and puts it in a bowl. Then she measures the mass of pepper and puts it in the same bowl. What is the mass of the salt and pepper mixture? So we're adding salt and we're adding pepper. So we're going to use these measurements. We have 4/10 and 25/100. Our vocabulary says a common denominator is a denominator that two or more fractions share. So in the example, 5/8 and 2/8 have a common denominator. So the denominator is the bottom number. 8 is the denominator. So we cannot add them together unless the bottom number, the denominator, is the same. So it says you can add two fractions if they have the same denominator. Then fractions have the same denominator, they have a common denominator. The fractions 4/10 and 25/100 do not have a common denominator. So 4/10 and 25/100. You can always rename a fraction with the denominator of 10 as an equivalent fraction with the denominator of 100. So a few modules ago, we did common denominators by multiplying the fractions out or dividing the fractions out. So today it's actually really easy. We're going to multiply the fractions out by 10. So we'll say 4/10. We're going to multiply 4/10 by 10 over 10. So 10 times 4 is 40. And 10 times 10 is 100. So now we have a common denominator of 100. So 4/10 is equivalent to 40/100. So 4/10 is equivalent to, it's the same as 40/100. So now we can add the 40/100 plus 25/100. So for salt, we'll have 40/100. Pepper, we have 25/100, and we can add 40 and 25 together. So 40 plus 25. And some of y'all are working this out in your head. 40 plus 25 is 65. So the cook has 65/100 of salt and pepper. What is the mass of the salt and pepper mixture? The mass of salt and pepper is 65/100. So mass is 65/100, and that is in grams. So basically, when you multiply it out by 10, you're just adding a 0 to the numerator and a 0 to the denominator. So you can see 4/10, we added a 0 here and a 0 here by multiplying it by 10. On the next page, so it says a wallaby jumps 7/10 meter, then it jumps 18/100 meter. How far does a wallaby jump after jumping twice? So we're using 7/10 and 18/100. Write an equation to model the problem. Use J for the distance the wallaby jumps after jumping twice. So we're going to say 7/10 plus 18/100 equals to J. How many times it jumps twice? That looks like a J. That's not a very pretty J. Alright, so rename 7/10 as a fraction with a denominator of 100. So we would say 7/10 times 10 over 10. So 7 times 10 is 70. 10 times 10 is 100. So 7/10 is equivalent to 70/100. Now we're going to find the value of J. So now we can say 70/100 plus the 18/100. So 70/100 plus the 18/100 equals to how many times the wallaby jumps. So 70 plus 18, so over here to the side. 70 plus 18, and you can do this in your head, equals to 88. So J equals to 88 hundredths. So how far does the wallaby jump after it jumps twice? It jumps 88 hundredths. 88 hundredths, and it's jumping in meters. 8,800 meters. Okay? So in order to find that common denominator, if you're multiplying by tenths, if you've got tenths, you would multiply it times 10 over 10. So you really, when you multiply it by 10, you're adding a 0 to the numerator and a 0 to the denominator, okay, to make them equivalent. At the bottom of the page, I want you to do 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 and check your understanding. So pause your video, complete the problems at the bottom, and then start your video back to check yourself. So for question number 1, Molly has 3/10 pounds of red clay and 63 hundredths pounds of gray clay. How many pounds of clay does she have? Well, we can say 3/10 times 10 over 10 equals to 30 hundredths. So now we know that she has 30 hundredths of red clay. We want to add the 30 hundredths, so 30 hundredths plus 63 hundredths. So 63 plus 30 is 93 hundredths of clay. 93 hundredths. All right, number 2, we have 41 hundredths plus 1/10. Well, we can multiply it by 10. So then we would say, so 1/10 equals to 10 hundredths. So we would add it together. 41 plus 10 equals to 51 hundredths. Number 3, 8/10 plus 15 hundredths. So 8/10 times 10 is 80 hundredths. So now we can add it. So 80 plus 15 equals to 95 hundredths. Number 2, 2/10 plus 67 hundredths. Well, let's multiply it by 10. So 2/10 times 10 over 10 is 20 hundredths. So 67 plus 20 is 87 hundredths. And number 5, 33 100ths plus 3/10. So we multiply 3/10 times 10 over 10. So we get 30 hundredths. So 33 plus 30 is 63 hundredths. And that's it.